Is it really annoying to you that people keep talking about the return of Boris Johnson?
Do you know what, Trevor? People always have been underestimating me since I was 16 years old. And I came, back to the UK with £100, my dad's last £100, working at McDonald's to look after myself. Look where I am now. There are lots of people...
12 points adrift in the polls, that's where you are.
No, I'm leader of the Conservative Party after a historic defeat.
This is my video update on this Sunday afternoon, May the 25th, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with another Russian missile and drone strike into Ukraine, targeting many regions and many cities throughout Ukraine, but focusing once again for the second straight day on Kiev. The Russian Ministry of Defense claims that they are targeting military facilities, specifically drone manufacturing facilities. Ukraine claims that Russia is hitting civilian targets. CNN has an article with the title, "Russia launches largest aerial assault on Ukraine, killing at least 12 despite completing major prisoner swap. Overnight into Sunday, Russian strikes hit at least 22 locations." That Air Force said. Russia launched 69 missiles and 298 drones, of which 47 missiles and 266 drones were intercepted, it added. From the videos and images that I've seen on the interwebs, it looks like the Russian missiles and the Russian drones hit their targets. I'm not sure about the claim that the Ukraine Air Force is making by saying that 266 drones and 47 missiles were intercepted. Maybe, but when you look at the images and the videos, it does look like Ukraine's air defense system is collapsing, if not collapsed. At least in other regions, it looks like it has collapsed. And in Kiev, it looks like it is seriously degraded. And Kiev is where Ukraine kept many of its Patriot systems in order to protect the capital city. But it does look like those air defense systems are crumbling, even in Kiev. So this follows the prisoner swap that was completed this morning. The Russian Ministry of Defense, they announced that Russia has received 303 more soldiers from Ukraine. And they announced that the 1,000 for 1,000 prisoner exchange formula has been completed. And that means that, according to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, once the prisoner swap is completed, then Russia will submit its draft memorandum for Project Ukraine. It will submit it to Ukraine. It will submit it to the Trump administration. And most likely the draft memorandum will be Istanbul Plus root causes that will be submitted to the Zelensky regime and to the Trump administration, of which I imagine the Zelensky regime will completely reject Russia's draft memorandum. Ukraine also has to submit a draft memorandum. We haven't heard much news about Ukraine and the progress that they're making in putting together a draft memorandum, but I imagine what they're going to submit is the Kellogg freeze plan. That's pretty much what they're going to do. Copy and paste Kellogg's freeze plan with a 30-day unconditional ceasefire and submit that as their part of the draft memorandum. So 2 days in a row, big Russian missile and drone strikes into Kiev. No doubt that this is in retaliation for the 500 plus drones that Ukraine launched into Russia over the last week, even targeting Moscow. And Ukraine started their drone strikes into the Russian Federation going all the way back to Victory Day, 2-3 days before May 9th. Ukraine started to launch drones into the Russian Federation. And there wasn't much of a response from Russia until yesterday and today. And it is a big response from the Russian Federation. But there are also reports which claim that this big drone and missile strike is about preparing for the summer offensive that Russia will launch in Sumy in the north direction, as well as in Kherson, Zaporozhye in the southern direction. Putin, 2 days ago, he said that Russia needs to create a buffer zone, which would incorporate much of Sumy. So that offensive is coming because Russia's going to create this buffer zone. But there are reports saying that Russia has amassed 150,000 troops in the south, and they are preparing a big offensive in that direction as well. And so there are reports which say that Russia is destroying much of Ukraine's drone manufacturing and military facilities. Man, it is hot. I can barely breathe. Anyway, let's continue. The Financial Times, they are reporting that the Russian offensive is indeed coming in the summer. They interviewed a bunch of Ukrainian military officials and soldiers on the front lines. And they basically reported that the Ukraine military is absolutely exhausted. And they are preparing for what they consider to be an inevitable Russian offensive. Financial Times is saying, expect no miracle. Ukraine braces for Russia's summer offensive. That's the Financial Times reporting today. And the WaPo, the Jeff Bezos Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness. Isn't that what the Washington Post claims? Democracy dies in Romania. Democracy died in Romania. The Washington Post is reporting that Trump softens on Putin as Russia's military edge weakens. Officials say Moscow's advantage on the Ukraine battlefield is waning, experts say, but President Donald Trump seems disinclined to ramp up pressure on the Kremlin to engage in ceasefire talks. Trump just does not have his heart in it. He does not have his heart in ceasefire talks anymore. So the Financial Times is reporting about the big summer offensive that is coming from the Russian military and how Ukraine troops and the Ukraine military is absolutely exhausted as they prepare for this big Russian summer offensive. And the Washington Post on the same day is reporting that Russia is weakening. Russia is weakening, but Trump is softening. Russia's weakening and Trump is softening, according to the Washington Post. And they interviewed a bunch of experts. A couple of them they name military officials and ex-military officials who are now in various think tanks, 2 or 3 of them that actually decided to give their name to the Washington Post. And then you have a lot of sources familiar with and anonymous sources familiar with, and all of these people as well The Washington Post says they interviewed something like 12 or 15 sources for this article, which claims, according to all of these officials and anonymous sources, that if you just give it one more year, Trump, just give it one more freaking year, Trump, damn it, then Russia is going to collapse. One more year, is that so much to ask? Just one more year. Just keep on giving Ukraine money, weapons, just green light the 500% secondary bone-crushing sanctions, which scale up to 1,000% in 90 days if the countries do not stop trading with Russia. But anyway, just give the money, just give the weapons, just green light the sanctions, then chill out for 1 year and watch Russia collapse. Collapse. Tatters, tatters, 1 more year and tatters. That's what the Washington Post is saying. We've had this story, the same exact narrative and story, I believe even from the Washington Post, but from all kinds of collective West mainstream media. Every freaking year, they come out with this story. If you just give it another year, Russia will collapse. That's what they said in 2022. That's what they said in 2023. Come on, Biden. Come on, U.S. Congress. Just give it 1 more year, Russia will collapse. More money, more weapons, more escalation. 2024, just give it 1 more year, more weapons, more money, more escalation. Russia will collapse. Now they're saying it again, 2025. Just 1 more year. 1 more year. And then Ursula's dream becomes a reality. Tatters. Tatters will come in 2026. Let's read what the Bezos-owned Democracy Dies in Darkness Washington Post is saying. Russia's battlefield strength in Ukraine has started to wane, and it could run into serious shortages of manpower and weaponry by next year, even as President Donald Trump retreats from pressure on Moscow to end the war, according to senior U.S. and European officials and military experts. Further down in the article, it says, rather than the U.S. leadership he promised, Trump has mused that he might just walk away and leave the negotiations to the Europeans, perhaps even the new Pope, to sort out. His administration has not committed to additional military or financial aid to Ukraine. But the timing for putting pressure on Moscow may be more advantageous now than at any point since the early days of the conflict, according to more than a dozen officials who discussed the current state of the war and the sensitive politics and diplomacy surrounding it, most on the condition of anonymity. A lot of these officials had to stay anonymous because these are very, very sensitive topics. Very sensitive topics, and they had to remain anonymous as they were discussing these very sensitive topics with Democracy Dies in Darkness, the Washington Post. No better time than now. No better time than now for Trump to give weapons, money, and bone-crushing sanctions on Russia. Now is the time. Don't walk away, Trump. Do not walk away. Do not leave this to the Europeans. Do not leave this to the Pope. Don't leave this to the Pope. He just became Pope. He's about 2 weeks into his position. Don't let him mediate or negotiate. Not that he will, because Russia has already said that they're not going to negotiate with at the Vatican with the Pope, because the Pope and the Vatican is not neutral. Actually, the TASS news agency, the Russian news agency, ran a story. One sec. Yeah, TASS reports that the likely venue for the second round of direct negotiations between Russia and Ukraine is Istanbul. Makes the most sense. Continuity from 2022 to the second Istanbul talks, which took place a couple of weeks ago. Might as well hold the third. This would be the third round of talks, if you're looking at it from Russia's perspective, might as well hold the next round of talks in Istanbul as well. Why change things up? So what the Washington Post is basically saying to the Trump administration is that that you should not walk away from Project Ukraine. And if you do walk away from Project Ukraine, then we're going to blame you for Ukraine's defeat and for Kiev's collapse, which is coming. But we're going to blame you for it. That's basically what they're saying to the Trump administration. That's why they run articles, and you're seeing a lot of mainstream media publications run these types of articles. We've talked about this on the Duran with Alexander in a couple of videos, how they're now starting to run articles with very little to no evidence. They're just interviewing anonymous sources and officials in the US, many in the UK, in Ukraine, and they're making the claim that Russia is weakening. How they're coming to that conclusion, your guess is as good as mine. But they're making the claim that Russia is weakening, and they're making that claim because what they want to tell Trump is that you abandoned Ukraine right when Russia was getting weaker, and you saved Putin's butt. Basically, that's the narrative that they want to put out there. That's the message that they're sending to Trump, so that when Kiev does collapse, when Russia does win, if it does end up with a military solution and Russia wins, they're going to put all the blame on Trump and say, we told you that Russia's military was weakening, but you gave Putin an off-ramp when you should have been providing Zelensky with money and weapons and sanctions. I think it was in the Financial Times article, or maybe it was the Washington Post article, but they interviewed a military official in Europe, I believe in Austria, and he said that according to his sources, the Russian military is on its last legs. According to his analysis and his sources, that Russia's military is significantly weakened and degraded, losing thousands and thousands of tanks and weapons and soldiers, and things are not looking good for Putin. All that's needed is just a little more time. A little more time, and of course, a lot more money. To Churchill number 2. So that's the Washington Post. The publication Reuters put out an article saying Russia says it captures 3 more settlements in East Ukraine. The reason I'm highlighting this article, Russia's capturing settlements every day. 2, 3, 4, 5, quickly. They're capturing these settlements very quickly as well. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because you do not see articles in the collective West media, especially from Reuters, which actually bring up Russia's military gains. They've been avoiding Russia's military gains over the last 6 months, the collective West media. All of a sudden, Reuters is posting an article saying that Russia has captured 3 more settlements. Interesting. Bild, the German publication, they are posting that, to their surprise, Putin is now talking about 7 regions, not just 4. This is what Bild is saying. Putin is talking about 7 regions. This follows his buffer zone statement, and Bild is shocked and surprised. This is news to Bild. It's news to Bild. He was saying 4, and now all of a sudden he's saying 7. Where did this come from? Well, where did this come from? Russia's been saying this for 3 years now, haven't they? The more this war continues, the more oblasts you're going to lose. That's been the message from all kinds of Russian officials, from Putin to Lavrov to Medvedev. They've been saying the more you fire long-range missiles towards the Russian Federation, the more we're going to have to push you back and create a buffer zone. They told Biden this, the Biden White House. Lavrov said it many times. If you fire ATACMS into the Russian Federation, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to push you back out of range of the ATACMS and create a buffer zone. The further back you are, the more time our air defenses have to intercept those missiles. So if the ATACMS have a range, Lavrov said this many times. He was very clear and very specific. If the ATACMS have a range of 300 kilometers, whatever, he said, we're going to have to push you back 300 kilometers. And that means that Russia's going to be incorporating more regions. And Bild is surprised. Bild all of a sudden is surprised. This is news to Bild that Russia is saying this, even though they've been talking about this for 3 years. And just a couple of weeks ago in Istanbul, Medinsky, the chief negotiator for Russia, he told the Ukraine side that if they do not take this deal, Istanbul plus root causes, then the 4 regions will not become 6. Many people were saying 6 is what Medinsky said, but actually he said the 4 regions will become 8. And of course, Arestovich, he told media in many interviews, he said that if we do not take Istanbul plus, then the 4 regions become 6, the 6 regions become 8, and so on and so forth. That's Arestovich, who's Zelensky's nemesis, his arch rival, his one-time best buddy, his acting buddy, now his arch rival. So let's move on. I think that's enough for a Ukraine update, and we can talk about protests against Starmer that happened yesterday throughout the UK. In many cities throughout the UK, thousands of people came out for anti-Starmer protests. In 75 towns and cities, these protests took place. I've seen some videos from the protests. They don't look too big, not small, but they don't look massive either. The mainstream media in the UK, from what I understand, they reported nothing on these protests. That's a lot of cities, actually. Over 75 towns and cities. You had anti-Starmer protests. Why are people in the UK so upset with Starmer? I don't understand it, man. I don't understand it. Starmer's trying to protect the UK's democracy. What did he say yesterday? He said that the attacks on his property, the fires on his 2 properties and his car, are a direct attack on UK's democracy. That is what Starmer said. Come on, everyone. Starmer's trying to protect the UK's democracy. Why are you guys so upset with the man? And Russia's possibly, according to UK investigators, recruiting models, Ukrainian-born models, and sending them to the UK. What kind of craziness is this from Russia, man? Jeez. I'm telling you. Poor Starmer, man. He has to deal with so many things to protect the UK's democracy and attack on the UK's democracy. Keir Starmer. All right. Let's see here. Romania, Simion, George Simion is telling citizens to protest what happened in Romania, but he's saying that he does not want violent protests and to not give the authorities any excuse to turn protests into something violent. violent like what happened in Maidan. He actually referenced Maidan. So he's calling for the people of Romania to protest what happened during their elections, the meddling that he claims took place from France and from Moldova. But he's saying that they have to avoid any type of Maidan, false flag, something like that to happen, because he is claiming that this is what authorities are actually trying to make happen. In his statement, he said that they're expecting the Romanian people to get out onto the streets, and once they get out onto the streets, the authorities are going to use Maidan tactics to try and create, in his words, a Ukraine-style bloodbath. And then once they create this Maidan scenario, they're going to clamp down on Romanian citizens and Romanians' rights and all of these things. So that is what Simion is saying. Sticking with Romania, Maria Zakharova, she put out an interesting statement, a theory as to why Macron arrested Pavel Durov. And she claims that Macron in France, they arrested the Telegram founder and CEO, not so that they can get access to the Telegram messaging app, but so that they can get Durov to begin to meddle in Romania's elections. Way back then, according to Maria Zakharova, they had their concern and their eye on the Romanian elections, and they wanted Durov to start meddling in the Romanian elections. Interesting theory from Zakharova. She posted on Telegram, it turns out that Macron had Durov arrested, not even to address internal issues with the messenger using such barbaric methods, but to influence the elections in Romania, realizing that the candidate from the liberal dictatorship wouldn't be able to win under any legal circumstances, Zakharova wrote on Telegram. She wrote it on Telegram. Interesting. I don't know if I buy it, but it could be. I'm just trying to figure out, when did they arrest Durov, and when was Ionescu really rising? When was his campaign taken off? Do they line up? Does it line up? Ionescu's campaign taken off and arresting Durov? If they line up, then she may be onto something. Should we do a clown world? Wrap this video up. I think we could do a clown world. We go back to the UK, and there are reports coming out of the Sun which claim that Boris Johnson is about to enter UK politics again, or at least the Tories are trying to convince Boris Johnson to enter Ukraine politics. Tories convincing Boris Johnson to return to politics. Such talks became more active in the light of low ratings of the party. Some of the old gang around Boris Johnson are back texting and in talks to get him to return, one of the sources told The Sun. The Economist is saying the return of Boris Johnson would be insane. Yet the strange thing is how much of the British political spectrum would welcome it. Yeah, they would welcome it, all right. Yeah, they would really welcome it. The political elite would welcome it. the citizens of the UK, I don't know. I don't know if they would welcome it, the people of Britain. But yeah, it's insane, all right. Insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. Boris Johnson back in politics. Just in time to try and sabotage another Russia-Ukraine negotiation, perhaps. Perhaps that's what we're going to see from Boris Johnson. They don't have anyone else. They have to go with Boris Johnson. They don't have anybody else, the Tories or the Conservatives. No one? You have no one? Really? Just go to the top of the order again? You've gone through the entire batting order, and now you just go right back to Boris Johnson. Why not Theresa May? Start off at Theresa May, then go to Boris Johnson, and then just bring Sunak back. I mean, God, just bring Sunak back. Yeah, Starmer's in trouble, man. Starmer's in trouble, and the globalists are saying, you know what? Boris kept the war in Ukraine going. I mean, he did do that. He absolutely kept the war in Ukraine going. A horrible thing. Hundreds of thousands of lives lost. But for the globalists, Boris did his job there, didn't he? He flew into Kiev and he kept that freaking war going. And now they're going to bring him back, they're saying. We'll see. We will see. All right. I think that is the video for today. I feel like I have another story, but I just can't remember it. Not another clown world, but another story. I can't remember. Anyway, theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like what I'm wearing in this video update. There is a link in the description box down below. Take care.
8 cadets here today took on the challenge of designing their own hypersonic rocket. Oh, we can use you. We're building them right now. You know, we had ours stolen. We are the designer of it. We had it stolen during the Obama administration. They stole it. You know who stole it? The Russians stole it. Something bad happened. But we're the designer of it, and we're now building them, and lots of them.